No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. That's why Club Wealth was founded, to help driven, successful, and busy real estate agents like you double their business while building a strong, balanced home life. Join us each week as high-producing agents and team leaders share their stories and unpack the principles and systems they've used to double, triple, and even quadruple their business while enjoying greater quality of life. And now, here's the latest episode of Club Wealth TV.
Well, hello everybody, Michael Hellickson here with Club Wealth, and we are live on Club Wealth TV. So excited to have our very special guest, Coach, and I say Coach Rachel Kennedy with Club Wealth. And I got to tell you, Rachel is a freaking rock star. Super excited that Brian and I get to spend some time with her and with you today. Rachel's really dialed in some pretty cool stuff. And by the way, I see Angie, Cody, Tracy Ellman. I see you guys are already on. It's good to see you. Shout out to Alex Montalvo. I appreciate you guys logging in. But Rachel's been dialing in some home buyer seminars, and we're developing this really awesome program within Club Wealth now, devoted to how to do these. But Rachel's Rachel, you're going to have to mute your tab out there. Hold on, I'm going to mute Rachel while she gets her Facebook tab muted out. But anyway, so we're developing all of these different methods for doing home buyer and home seller seminars. There's actually 3 types of seminars that we'll be talking about. Primarily today, we're going to talk home buyer seminars, but you'll also want to consider home seller and investor seminars, real estate investor seminars at some point. And so that being said, I also want to introduce Mr. Brian Curtis. For those of you that don't know, Brian is essentially the smartest guy in real estate today. He loves it when I say that because, he's an attention hound. I'm just kidding. Brian hates attention, but I will say this. In my opinion, he is one of the smartest guys in real estate today, and love having you on the show, Brian. Thank you so much for being here. And Brian, as you know, is my co-host on these shows. So we're going to get started right away. And by the way, as you guys are logging in, I see Michelle Berquist. Good morning. It's good to see you. Craig, Terry, Adam, Andrea. I see all these people logging in right now. You guys don't forget, in the Facebook feed that you're in, go ahead and type in your questions for Rachel, for me, for Brian. We'll do the very best we can to get to all of your questions. And then we're checking all these different feeds. One thing, a piece of housekeeping I need to do before we get started is I got to remind you that our show today is actually being hosted by, or I should say sponsored by, WiseHire. I just want to give a shout out to WiseHire. We would not let them sponsor the show if we didn't believe in their product. We love them, and it's because of them that we're able to do Club Wealth TV right now. So thank you and shout out to WiseHire. So for those of you that are looking to recruit agents to your team, freaking give them a shot. We love those guys. We've done a lot of good recruiting with WiseHire. All right. That being said, we're going to get started. So Rachel, talk to us. Tell us who you are, where are you from, what company you're with, and what are you going to be teaching us today?
Okay, my name's Rachel Kennedy. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I'm with Colorado Home Realty, which is a local, small, locally owned brokerage here in Denver. I have a team. We have a full-time admin, and then I have 2 really awesome, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. 2 amazing buyer's agents, Kim Van Horn and Kate Spitznagel.
Right on. So talk to us about what we're talking about today. You've been working on these home buyer seminars for a bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
So just in the last year, we started doing home buyer seminars. We weren't really sure what the outcome was going to be. It was kind of like, why aren't we doing this? And we ended up having some really great success with it. It's been a really good lead generation system for us. And so now in 2018, we are planning on doing 10 throughout the year to bring us, with my calculations and the leads that we're bringing in, we'll probably get in those 10 about 300 leads.
Wow. That's great. Well, and you're not only bringing your experience to the table. I know recently you've been talking with a bunch of other people inside Club Wealth that are doing similar home buyer seminars, and not just home buyer seminars, but you guys have been talking about some other stuff too. So tell us about some of the results they're getting.
So, I wasn't able to connect with Kara Courtney, who Garrett said was doing some really great stuff. Unfortunately, her and I weren't able to connect. So really what I'm bringing today is just what we've done.
Okay.
However, in our breakout session yesterday during our coaches call, we came up with some pretty good ideas that even I haven't been implementing that I'm excited to share with everybody today.
Awesome. So Brian, I'm going to let you jump in here. What questions do you have for Rachel?
Oh, what questions do I have? I've been thinking about this as we kind of prep for this. So what made you think that, hey, this is where we need to go? Because, everything that you hear in 2018 is online. And basically what you're saying is, I don't want to be online. I want to additionally do something that's not online. And, where'd that thinking come from? And, obviously we're going to talk about the success you've had, but what made you say, you know what, we need to do something different? What was that kind of inspiration from?
So open houses have always been a really great, a great lead system for me. When I'm in the mood, and I have to be in the mood, I love doing them. It's part of what I love about real estate is being able to interact with people. And when I have that connection with somebody one-on-one and face-to-face, I know I have them. I know they're my client. And so for me, it was like, okay, so how else can I bring that same one-on-one face-to-face interaction without doing open houses every single weekend? And, so it was just a way to mix it up, really.
Awesome.
So it's interesting. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was just saying, so what kind of numbers are you getting? Because, I've heard people doing home buyer seminars for 15 years. And honestly, most of them, they're not good at it. I don't know how else to say that. I was going to say, but basically it's like, that's a complete waste of time. I did one and one person showed up, or the first time I did it, 3 people came and then one person came and then I just gave up. So obviously, I don't think that there's anyone who's not willing to do it if they have the right number of success. Kind of like open houses. It's like, to me, if I go sit on an open house for 3 hours on Sunday and one person shows up, that's not a good use of my time.
Right.
But if you can show me how to get 50 people to show up, I'm much more interested in spending my 3 hours on Sunday there. So
yeah.
What kind of numbers are you seeing?
So we have pretty consistently brought in anywhere between 30 and 40 leads per per home buyer class that we've run. And the way I'm doing that is via Facebook. So all of these RSVPs essentially that we're getting are people that are not in our database. So they're all new leads to us. And the way I'm doing that is I took Travis Tom's lead gen ad or lead ad campaign that he taught us at BSM. That I use that for my home buyer classes.
Nice.
That is freaking awesome. I'm giving a shout out to Travis here in the feed. So go ahead, Brian. You have another question, then I'm going to jump in.
I probably have about 50, but I'll let you just come back in. I promise. So you're running your lead. What, if you don't mind, just and I'm sure you don't have to share your exact ad, but what is your call to action? I guess is what are you come to a home buyer class? I'm sure it's better. It's better than that. So what's your call to action? What are people?
So really, what I do is it's typically about 4 weeks out before the actual class. I have my marketing team create a flyer, and after the call, once we finish this Trello card, I'm giving everybody on the Trello card everything I use. So I have the flyer that I use that I just update the dates and the times and the location on it. And the ad is just a picture of the flyer with a learn more call to action. They click to learn more. And I can't remember if you learn more or RSVP. But then they just click that, and I have the the submittal form or whatever it's called, with their name, email address, phone number, and that gets submitted to me, and then that's how I'm following up with them to confirm their RSVP.
Nice.
And that's it.
That's great. So let's talk ad spend, because that's a good thing. So are you spending $50 or are you spending $5,000?
I spend $200.
$200
is always my budget. Yep.
Okay.
I know where you're. Go ahead. I know where you're going. I want to break that down to number of cost per client acquisition. But even if we just go cost per lead, essentially, and when we say lead, we're talking cost per face-to-face appointment, because this is an appointment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're spending $200 to get 30 people in a room.
That's awesome.
I'm not like the world's greatest at math if there's not 5 zeros after it, but 200 divided by 30, it looks a lot like $6.66 to me. And that's $6.66 per person that shows up. How many people on this call would love to have a $6.66 face-to-face appointment? That's crazy. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yes.
Go ahead, Brian.
So that's absolutely phenomenal. And we can sit down and calculate ROI. My guess is you don't have enough long-term data to truly calculate ROI. You can calculate short-term, but long-term is really what we want. So, we'll have you back on in 6 months and you can tell us then.
Okay.
But, that's absolutely an amazing just front-end cost. It's funny because you hear people talk about cost per lead or cost per click or all those kind of things. And, I've heard people brag about, I'm getting a lead for $2.50. But when you look at that $2.50, how much more money does it cost me? Time, energy, effort to actually get in front of a person. That same lead, you're going to talk to 10 of those before you get in front of somebody, plus your time. You're looking at that same lead costing, $40, $50, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's still very profitable, but I like $7 a head. Sign me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seriously, that's ridiculous low cost. And what's funny to me is, people will go out and they'll spend all this money on Facebook advertising and buying leads from this place and that place and the other place, just so that they can then get an internet lead that now they got to follow up with. Now they've got to figure out how to convert that to an appointment so that they can hopefully get them to show up for an appointment, which maybe they get, maybe the people show up, maybe they don't. And they're going through all this. And you start breaking that down into a cost per face-to-face appointment. It's a lot more money than people realize. And for $7 to get face-to-face with somebody, I don't think people really realize the magnitude of this. This is massive. And I'll tell you, not only that, but instead of that, I want you to think about the quality of the appointment for a moment, right? I get a one-on-one face-to-face appointment with somebody. That's good. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not positioned as the expert. With these classes, I get them to come to my class. Not only I don't get them for an hour, I get them for 3 hours, depending on how long you're doing the class, right? I could get them for up to 3 hours. And I'm the expert. I'm teaching them something. They now perceive me as the expert. I don't have any competition. You guys, this is a very big deal. I used to do home buyer, home seller, and investor seminars, and I would do them every week. I would literally do 3 to 5 of these a week. I did them all the time. I shouldn't say 3 to 5. Typically, I was doing 2 to 3 a week. But we did them, and I'll tell you that it was very, very efficient for us. That's actually how Club Wealth started, was because the investor seminars, we created Club Wealth to drive the investors to a group that we now would teach these guys how to invest in real estate on a buy and hold basis. So we weren't teaching flips or anything like that. We were just teaching them how to buy and hold properly. And I got to tell you, with this, it grew. We had a whole bunch of people. I think we had a couple hundred people in that group at one time. And they weren't just buying a house from me every 14 years. They were buying a house every year or more, like 1 to 14 houses per year. It was a great strategy to develop really good synergy with a whole bunch of people. And we made sure they got to know each other. We can go into all that stuff in a little bit, but there were so many reasons and ways why this became a very big deal for us and why it helped us make a ton of money. So we have some questions that people are typing in, and I want to get to a couple of these questions. And then, Brian, we're going to get back to more of yours. But very quickly, Michelle Berquist, whom we, by the way, know and love. We love you, Michelle. Runs our daily huddle for our Tier 1 clients and our group coaching clients every morning. And so Michelle wanted to know, who's your coach, Rachel?
Cherie. The lioness. Love her.
Freaking love Cherie Benjamin, man. That woman absolutely rocks everybody's world. All right. So Michelle also asks, are you hosting these on the weekends or weeknights? And how long are you doing them?
Good question. Really good question. So the ones that we've done so far are always like midday on a Saturday. We haven't toyed around with the weeknight. We haven't toyed around with the weeknight classes yet. It's certainly a good option for sure, especially because we're here in Denver and people are weekend warriors out here. I mean, they head to the mountains and, so that we might get a different crowd during the week, like on a Thursday night or something.
I did mine on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then when we got super busy, we started having a lot of success with them. And so what I did is I did them all over, right? So I started kind of in my area, and I'd get together with all the different parks and recs departments, and with the adult education places, like there's the Learning Annex, and I don't know what you've got in your market, but there's all kinds of these adult learning facilities. So we'd get together with them, and what I would do is I would make sure that I did a home buyer, home seller, and investor seminar, 3 separate events. I would do one of each of those events each quarter in each location. And so as I wanted to do more events, I just grew my locations, and I ended up doing a ton of these events, and they worked. And I never did them on the weekend. So it's interesting that you're doing the weekends.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, it was just convenience. I mean, I have 2 kids, and I like to be home at night. So it was kind of a selfish thing.
Perfect.
I love to be selfishly successful, right?
Well, and to both your points, you have to be selfish with your time, especially with your family. If you don't set those, and we talk about this a lot, right? Everybody watching us, if you're watching us for the first time, you may not have heard this, but the most important thing you can ever learn from the 3 of us or anybody at Club Wealth is that no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. And so what that means, like in practice, what that means is you have to set appointments with your family that are treated just like every other appointment in your calendar. And if somebody says, hey, I want to meet with you to list my $3 million house on Friday at 5:00, and you have an appointment with your wife and kids at that time, you're not going to list that house. You're going to tell them, oh, I'm already booked at that time. I can meet you on Saturday or Sunday or whatever your options are.
Absolutely.
So, Michael, I had a thought when you were talking about the adult education. So our local rec center puts out like a quarterly flyer, whatever, and they print out all the classes that they offer. So that would also be a really good idea, even if you did a home buyer one, and then maybe the next night you did a home seller.
That's exactly what we did. And it was the Parks and Recs department were 90% of them. The adult education places like the Learning Annex and that sort of thing, that was, those there weren't as many of those out there. But the Parks and Recs departments, they were everywhere. And so we always targeted cities that we felt had enough population for it to be worth our time. The cool thing is, because you're doing marketing right now that's already driving 30 plus people to these things, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a big deal. The Parks and Recs department does marketing as well for you through their brochures and in their website and all this other stuff. And so now those are people that are just icing on the cake. Those are in addition to the ones that you're going to be driving through your marketing. And let me tell you, when you get all those people in a room, the Parks and Recs department, here's what they're going to love. Number one, they don't want you to pitch, right? So if you just bring value, come from contribution, that's going to make them happy. The next thing is make sure that if they have a comment form or any kind of a feedback system, make sure you get everybody in your class to give feedback on how great your class was. And I'll tell you what, they will be begging you to come back. Those Parks and Recs departments need great content that's no pitch.
Cool. I think I'm going to implement the seller class. I like
the seller ones are great, and I got to find my stuff. Tara was looking for it the other day. It's been so long since I've done one. I got to see if I can find my PowerPoints. But I'll tell you that what's really nice again is that you're laying out. Like here's how you would market your house, whether you list with an agent or not. Boom, 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 boom. Give them a ton of value. And if you do list with an agent, here's what you need to expect. Boom, 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 boom. And what you're doing is you're telling them to expect the things that you do, right? And so. And the stuff that you don't do, like if you're a small team and you're marketing against big teams, right? Then you would say, make sure that you're going to get to deal with the team leader. But if you're a big team and you're marketing against everybody else out there, you got to say, the problem with trying to be the jack of all trades is that you're the master of none. And so you've got to know how to position this in your class to speak to your strengths as well as give them great advice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
That's awesome. All right, we got some more great questions. So Michelle wanted also to know, actually, let me back up. Claire Widmark, Wright, is saying, yes, Trello card. Thank you, Rachel. And so, yes, Rachel's working on the Trello's cards for this. Michelle wanted to know, are you doing 200 over 4 weeks? Is that what you're doing?
So let's see. Typically, it's about 2 weeks. Yeah, I think I do 2 weeks before the class is when I start running my ad.
2 weeks before the class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're doing $200 over 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good stuff. And then, is there a price point you're targeting? Are you avoiding people under, like if their income level is too low to qualify, or are you just marketing to everybody?
I'm marketing to everybody. One thing that, and it might have been Travis that said this at BSM, was when Facebook claims to have that
data.
That data of this person's net worth is over $1 million or whatever. Like, what is that based on? Is that true? How do they know, basically? So we market to everybody. A buyer is a buyer. I want them all.
Well, and here's the reality. Even if they're not a buyer today, right? Even if they don't qualify, and we say this a lot, but it's really true. Even if they don't qualify today, you want to get face-to-face with them. Because here's the thing. You're talking one-to-many now instead of one-to-one. And as often as possible, we want to get you doing stuff one-to-many. Because now they can be in the room, and who freaking cares if they qualify or not? Guess what? When you come across as the expert, when you come across as delivering real value without any thought of return, right? Where you're giving them great stuff, whether you get anything out of it or not, then guess what? They're going to remember that. And when they run into people that are thinking about buying or selling a home, guess who they're going to refer? Boom, you. And you want to take everybody in that class, put them into your client appreciation program. And you also want to, and this is very important, I hope everybody's listening to this, it's very important that you set them up on your retargeting. So you want to retarget them not with sales messages, but with more content specific to the type of class they were in. So start running retargeting campaigns if they came to a buyer class on buyer stuff or seller class on seller stuff, etc.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
I think if people forget, and it's real easy. And I know that I've fallen. The reason Oprah says you spot it, you got it. So I fell into this when I first got into real estate. It's like, I need a lead right now to pay my bills. So, when you start thinking about someone who's coming to a class and they're, maybe they got a bad credit score, or maybe they're not quite ready to buy yet, it's hard to get excited about that person. But if everyone's listening, get excited about that person, because here's the thing, the person that you incubate now, and then 6 months later, they go and buy a house or sell a house from you, that is much more valuable than you can ever imagine. Because today it's great. And I want an immediate right now business. We all want that, but you're going to get that. Imagine if you have the immediate right now business, and then 6 months from now, you also have all of this business that you cultivated over this time period. And it's so hard to get that. We can all intellectually get it, but it's so hard to get it until all of a sudden this person calls you and said, "Hey, I went to your home buyer seminar class 6 months ago, and you gave me some advice about how to get my credit score up. And I talked to your lender, and I'm so excited because now I can buy a house." Mm-hmm. And there's so many opportunities with that. So along that lines, Rachel, that brings me a question: do you have a lender at that class? And
I do. Yep. So my lender splits all costs with me, so that $200 then becomes $100 out of my pocket. And we also typically host it at like a restaurant. So thus far we've hosted it at a restaurant, though now I'm going to go to Parks and Rec. And they split, we usually order like pizzas for them. So my lender's splitting all those costs, and my lender starts the presentation. So he covers the lending side of it. And then I go into then the home buying portion of it. Kind of trying to keep it in sequential order.
Sure.
But on that point, one of the amazing parts of holding these classes and having people in there that maybe they need their credit cleaned up is that you're getting in front of them in enough time so that you can help them become really strong buyers. I know everybody's market right now is super hot. And if you're going in there with, down payment assistance buyer that needs concessions, et cetera, it's hard. It's really hard. So this is a way to get in front of them and say, let us help you let us walk you through the next 6 months to become a really strong buyer so that we're prepared for the reality of the market.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of agents don't know this who weren't in the mortgage business. And obviously you've got a pretty good grasp on it. But once upon a time, I owned a mortgage company, and I would bring people in and I would sit down with them and say, look, your credit score sucks. Probably nicer than that. But your credit score doesn't qualify. It's not 2006. You actually have to do more than fog the mirror. So ultimately, what are the 5 things that you can do to move from where you're at today to where you're on? I mean, we used to actually have a program. I had a business partner. His name is Larry Robertson. He's not in the business anymore, but we used to send them to a specific bank. And it was so simple as you'd walk into the bank, talk to this person, ask them for the Larry Robertson program, and they would hand them $1,000. And then they would go and they would get a CD with that $1,000. Then they would open a credit card and they would open a loan that was a 12-month loan paid out, $1,000 divided by 12. It's not quite that simple, but basically they would literally go in with $1,000 and say, here, do this program. And I bet you that 90% of the people who actually did it, and that's one of the keys that happens at some of these things, is 90% of the people who actually did it, their credit score would go up 50 points within 60 days. And then it would go up almost 100 points within 90 days. It was amazing to watch. A guy walks in, he's got a 550 credit score, and then within 90 days, they're 650, and bam, we can do FHA, VA, lots of great programs. So, one of the things, if you're not doing it, I would suggest that you literally go get with the bank and say, look, we're going to send people to you and make it simple. The bank wants that person because the bank is looking for depositors. So, it's a win-win, and, set that up with somebody at the bank and they will love you and they will take care of your people. And it doesn't feel overwhelming. When you give someone a path to get there, it's not, okay, I can tell them the same exact thing, go open a CD and then open a secure credit card. But they just feel like, Brian, you just overwhelmed me. Go talk to Bob at Bank X and he will take care of you. People can handle that.
Well, Rachel's got to mute her phone there. So, and here's the thing, Brian, I hope you guys just heard what Brian said. And if you didn't, make sure you go back and listen to this recording again, because that's gold. And what happens too, as you do that, Brian, you set yourself up again as the expert, right? You're making those connections, you're making those referrals. And not only are you the expert in the client's eyes, you're now the expert in the bank's eyes. And especially if you're talking about a local lender or, a local bank or something, where you can get some real traction with them. All of a sudden now you open the door for later on to say, hey, all this business I've been sending you guys, what's it going to take to get a little reciprocal love here, right? And other doors start to open and you'd be surprised. But again, the formula, as with everything, is give, then ask, then receive, right? But you have to give. Or if you want to do it like Gary Vaynerchuk does, without the F-bombs, of course, you would do jab, 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 right hook. Or in Gary Vaynerchuk style, it'd be jab, F-bomb, jab, F-bomb, jab, F-bomb, then right hook, F-bomb. So anyway, that being said, go ahead, man. I'm just saying, it is what it is, man. I mean, the guy's just like, seriously, his mom needed to find a bar of soap at some point. I'm sorry she out now. But my kid would have been biting down on that bar of soap for sure. All right. So everybody's calling CPS now. I know it. All right. So let's go back to some more questions. So Claire wants to know, do you guys do pizza or lunch or any kind of a meal during your events? And again, how many hours are they?
Oh, so we try to keep ours down to an hour and a half. Okay. We did do one, our first one that we kind of like just let everybody talk as long as they wanted to talk in terms of the presenters that we had there. It ended up being like a 2.5 hour class, and we could tell about 2 hours in that we like lost their attention, and everybody was like, okay, what is this over yet? Okay. So we felt like an hour and a half was a good time to give our value. What we try to do is we try to give enough value, but still not give away the whole deck of cards, because the idea is that we then want a reason to follow up and say, okay, let's sit down and look over your individual situation and figure out your individual game plan. So though we've already established the one-on-one rapport, we still want to sit down with them like individually.
So I want you to split test that with a 3-hour class. So I always did 3. And we had really good success. And Brian's like, dude, that's just agonizing. That just seems like way too much.
Punch me in the face, yes.
Brian's like, just give me the executive summary. He's like wicked high D. So here's the deal. What I want you to do, just split test it, right? You know, the only true way to know what's going to work best is to split test. But what I'll do is I'll work with you on the agenda. And by the way, for those of you, I see a lot of people typing in, you know, hey, I'd like to get the agenda. If you guys want to get a sample agenda, just an outline, right? We're not going to give you the whole content, everything, but we'll give you the outline so you have the bullet points so you can fill in your own content. If you want that, type in "send me the agenda" with your email address in the Facebook on Club Wealth on the Club Wealth Real Estate page. So the one here, I'll just put it in here. It's the one that's got all the comments in it right now where I'm trying to read from. So anyway, put it in there and we'll get you that agenda when we have it ready. That being said, split test it. And what I would suggest is just bring value. And believe me, you can easily fill 3 hours on a home buyer seminar.
Oh,
yeah. When it comes to your partners, that was another question that was asked is how much time do your partners get to spend talking, your lender, your title, your home inspector, whoever you're going to have there. And here's what I would suggest, and I'm curious as to what you've been doing. What I would suggest is I would say the lender can speak for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, right? They're just going to walk them through the stuff Brian just talked about. Keep it super short, keep it simple, keep it, on point. They can talk about maybe 1 to 3 programs tops, right? Like they could talk about a rehab program. They can talk about a first-time buyer program or a VA or something like that, but keep it fairly simple. When it comes to your home inspector, I wouldn't even let them freaking talk, right? Or maybe they can get talk for 5 to 10 minutes max on here's how you can visually inspect a home on your own without even hiring a home inspector. Here's the 5 things to look for: earth to wood contact, gutters not attached, those kinds of things, something super simple. And then I would have with your other partners, who else are we talking about? Home warranty. I'd have them talk for maybe 5 minutes, but all these people have to have an outline. They don't get to just come and just start talking, right? They got to have bullet points. They got to stick to their freaking bullet points. And I would make sure that you're in control. It's kind of like when you take clients out to dinner, you got to control the wine list, right? If you don't control the wine list, they're buying Don Perignon and you're broke by the end of the meal, right? So you got to do the same thing with the time, right? You can't let them control, never hand them the microphone, right? Or you're never getting it back. So we saw that at the Super Bowl. All right, good stuff. So Brian, go ahead, back to you. And then I'm going to hit more questions.
Okay, so let's talk USPs, because I think that's an important question. If you're going to be in front of these people, are you giving them a special incentive? Are you offering them anything?
We don't, but that's funny you bring that up, because I have a reminder in my phone to ask Brian Curtis about his VIP buyer program.
Absolutely. And, so honestly, I'll skip that, and you and I can definitely talk offline about that. But what I am going to talk about is, so theoretically, everyone who's there is a first-time home buyer, right? Theoretically, not actuality. There might be some, but by the way, it's not hard to make somebody a first-time home buyer. Anybody who hasn't owned a house in 2 years is now a first-time home buyer. You can make any qualification that you want. My guess is if they're at your home buying seminar, that they're probably a first-time home buyer, or we can make them a first-time home buyer. So, for me, I've got a first-time home buyer program. I wouldn't even talk necessarily VIP buyer program. I'd talk first-time home buyer program. And if you got a lender there, my lender does this. My lender gives you a free appraisal, and we give you a free home warranty. So at the end of the day, just by the way, in case you want to know, one of the things that we offer everyone who comes to this class, and you could just do that. You don't even have to be a first-time home buyer. Anybody who comes to our class, one of the things that we offer is we put you on our program. We get a free home warranty and a free appraisal. You don't have to do that. So shout out to Jeff Adams. Jeff Adams has got a really cool program where he gives people, you can pick from 1 to 3 things. You can pick from, I think it's a Nest or some Nest equivalent thermostat thing. You can pick, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 things. I don't know. You'd have to ask Jeff, and I'm not going to steal all his stuff for everybody. But basically, he put together a really cool thing, and it's a menu. Pick one of these things. If you work with us, by the way, you get one of these really cool things. And it's tech, and people love tech. So, I think one's a doorbell, something like that. But anyway, you give these people something to work with you. And here's the thing, when you look at it, if you have a team, then you're looking at, let's say something costs you $300. That's $150 to the team leader, $150 to the agent. To get someone to secure a buyer in this market, $150 is a steal. And one of the things I remind every single person who's listening, when I started in 2005, when I put someone in my car, they didn't talk to another realtor. They just didn't. They're in my car, they're my guy, and we're going to work together. But in 2018, here's the reality. They've been on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. 4 other people are sending them listing alerts. 5 other people are calling them every day. And until you've got a buyer agency agreement with that person, they're not your client. It's not 20 years ago. We do not provide the same value proposition as we did 20 years ago. So, give them something to be with you. And, a $200 thermostat, although that may seem silly, people love that stuff. And you're offering something that nobody else is doing. And then again, I would probably look at a VIP buyer as well. And I'm happy to share that with you.
And Brian, everybody, we're getting a lot. I'm telling you right now, we're going to have a freaking lynch mob on our hands if you don't talk a little bit more about your VIP buyer program. I'm telling you, we're going to have people stalking you, flying to Bentonville to tar and feather you. So you have to tell us about it.
All right, VIP buyer program, it's real simple. Ours costs us literally $0. So the first is love it or leave it guarantee. Love it or leave it is real simple. And as a matter of fact, this is not an exaggeration. I had someone call me this morning. They didn't even know about the love it or leave it program, but ultimately they got moved. So a past client bought a house, I think it was July, don't quote me on the exact date, and said, hey, I need to sell my house because I got to move to Kansas City. By the way, I'm probably going to give Tim Ray a call and, give you a referral on that. So I'm not sure if they're buying yet. We haven't gotten that far. But love it or leave it basically says that I'm going to sell their house at no cost to them or no commission to me is a better way to put that. So, I do it for 12 months. I've heard people doing it for 18 months. I do it for 12. But basically, in the first 12 months, if you need to sell your house for any reason, so you got relocated, you hate your house, you got divorced. I hate to be that way, but those things do happen. Any of those things happen in life. You need to sell your house. I'll sell it for free. You found out you're having twins and all of a sudden that 2-bedroom house isn't quite big enough for you anymore, whatever it is. So that's a love it, leave it guarantee. Why do people love that? Well, I live in an area that people come in and out of a lot because we're the home of Walmart. So there's people moving in and out for jobs constantly as example of that. We also have our vendor program. Our vendor program is we've made a deal with, I think there's 8 or 9 vendors. It's kind of a moving target. It moves all the time and said, hey, if you work with us, you can be in our vendor program. What does that mean? That means we're going to have these great people who, that if you call out and say, hey, I'm with Curtis Realty Group, that puts you to the top of the line. It's not about getting something for free. It's not about something at half price. We ask them to give a slight discount, but the reality is what you get more than anything else is good service. And anybody who's called a plumber, an electrician, a contractor in the last 10 years knows that if you can get them to come to your house in 24 hours, that's close to a miracle. At least it is in my market. I can't speak for every market, but it's not necessarily about getting a steal. It's about getting someone who shows up and acts as a professional. And if you're dealing with people and they've ever called one of those trades, they know that, getting someone to show up in 24 to 48 hours, that's worth its weight in gold. And also doing a good job, because there's nothing worse than paying someone $500 and finding out they didn't do it very well. So that's one of the other things. We have what we call our contractor support program. So basically what happens with the contractor support program is every house doesn't, not every, but 99% of real estate transactions, we're going to do some sort of repairs. The seller agrees to fix this, fix that. Well, here's the thing. I'm a real estate agent, not a contractor. So our contractor comes out and verifies that the seller did it right. We always say that Chuck in a truck may not have done it correctly. So I stole that from somebody else.
Freaking love Chuck in the truck, man.
Chuck in the truck, awesome. Right? And we all know that happens. I called my buddy and he did a great job. No, he really didn't. He slapped some tar on the roof and the roof is still leaking. We want to make sure that our clients are getting an opportunity to make sure that it's done right. What does that cost me? It cost me $0. And here's why it cost me $0. My contractor gets a truckload of business from that because that contractor goes out there. He's meeting someone who literally bought a new house, not necessarily new construction, but new to them. What do they want to do? Well, they want to put a deck on it. They want to repaint the cabinets. They want to do. They're excited. They're in a moment. My contractors are going, look, we found this problem, and I will absolutely come over and give you a bid next week after you close on what it's going to cost to put some new cabinets in here. That contractor is getting a ton of good business from a ton of good quality people. So that's the short version. And then we have our I don't know, I can't remember what it's called, but basically if you want to fire us, it doesn't cost us anything. So you can, our cancellation guarantee, I think we call it. So all those things are real simple, but they add a ton of value. And by the way, here's a script for everybody out there. When they say, hey, I'm already working with an agent. This is a shout out to Eric Eby on my team. He says this and I love it. So they must have an amazing VIP buyer program. And then he just shuts up. Because most people go, no, what are you talking about? Well, let me tell you about our VIP buyer program. So, and I'm not trying to steal clients from other agents. What I am trying to say is instead of saying what most salespeople would do, well, let me tell you about my VIP buyer program. They go, no, I'm not interested in that. When you just throw it out there as a takeaway, well, I'm sure that realtor must be giving you an amazing VIP buyer program. What do you mean? So anyway, I just
people really want what they can't have.
Absolutely. And no, that agent didn't tell me anything. And the truth of the matter is 90% of them don't have an agent. They've just talked to 7 agents and 4 of them are sending listing. They don't have an agent. They just have a person who they want to get off the phone. It's kind of like when I go to Macy's to buy a pair of pants, I walk in there. What am I there for? I'm there to buy a pair of pants. And the guy comes up to me and goes, can I help you? And I go, absolutely not. Why? I don't know. Because I don't want to be sold anything. So anyway, that's a short version of my VIP buyer program.
I'm freaking love it. Go ahead, Rachel. What were you going to say?
Oh, I like it. I'm taking lots of notes here.
I'll send it to you.
I'm actually tagging Coach Damon Gatier right now. I'm like, bro, you need to have your buyer's agents do one of these home buyer seminars right now, and you need to be looking at all these guarantees. Brian, would you do me a favor? So we're getting some questions for this. Would you update the Trello card for the guaranteed sale and other USPs to include, I don't know if it's in there or not, is your VIP home buyer program in there, and are your terms and conditions in that card already?
I sent it to Ron.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay. So Ron needs to be on top of that. Okay. Good stuff.
I think he is.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. So, and Michelle Berquist, I love it. She's like, I'm starting page 3 of notes. There's so many good takeaways. I love it. All right. So coming back to, and by the way, you guys, the love it or leave it guarantee, all the VIP buyer program, all this stuff really works hand in hand with these home buyer seminars to, again, set you further apart as the expert in your market. Now, for those of you that are already in tiers 3, 4, and 5, you should even be thinking about adding like radio, for example, to this kind of stuff. Because now with your radio campaigns, you can advertise your home buyer seminars, home seller seminars, investors, whatever. You can advertise those on your radio campaigns. And again, you now set yourself apart further as being the expert. If you're in tiers 1 and 2, don't even think about doing radio. It's not a good move for you. So, all right, good stuff. Let's take a look at how often, Michelle, great question. How often, Brian, do you ever have to honor the love it or leave it guarantee?
It looks like I might have to do it this week. So I want to say that we've done it one other time, and it was for a divorce. But here's the thing. I don't care. So, why do I list a house? Obviously, I list a house to sell it, and I want the commission from selling it. That's great. But the other reason I list a house is to sell 2 other houses. So I don't want to go out and suggest that we go all list houses for free. By the way, if that's what came into your mind, don't do that. That's a bad way to run a business because you're leaving a truckload of money on the table. But again, I had a sign that was sitting in my shed, so I put it in somebody's yard. I took some pictures. That cost me $250. I ran some ads. I needed to run ads to get buyers anyway. I put a CrowQuest sign in the yard. I put a call action sign in the yard, and I just got 6 other buyers. So if I actually have to do it every single month, great. Gives me more inventory, gives me more opportunities. And you know what? The other story about that, sometimes that person's moving to Kansas City and I'm going to get a 25% referral fee from Tim Ray when I send him the referral. So, again, it's not something I want to have to do all the time, but it doesn't hurt me. It's not like it's costing me money because, half the time I end up getting the other side.
And I hope people aren't misunderstanding this because I agree 1,000% with Brian here. That's great math, by the way. But I really do agree with Brian 100% here in terms of, even if you, and this is not a suggestion, you guys, but even if you had to do all of your listings for free, and I know this sounds crazy, But think about REO, right? REO is almost a wash, right? You really don't make much money on REO. But what REO does is it gives you a lot of inventory. And to Brian's point, when you have the inventory, the buyer leads are free, and they're a heck of a lot better than any buyer lead you're going to buy or get off of Facebook or pay-per-click or anything else. They're by far the only lead that's better than a sign call is an actual referral. That's it. And Michelle, I completely agree. Brian is a genius. You are absolutely right about that. So, all right, good stuff. So talk to us more about how are you converting people at these home buyer seminars? How are you capturing their info? Once you've got their info, how are you following up with them and converting them to a client?
Okay, so I'm going to start with this kind of before the class, because this is really important, is that, we'll get 30 to 40 RSVPs to the class, but your confirmation and follow-up of, hey, you RSVP'd to our class, are you still going to be able to make it, is super important. Because if you drop the ball on that, you'll have a really small outcome of attendees. So what we do is we actually follow the same outline as client events. So sending out, reminder emails, reminder texts, reminder phone calls. So really heavy the week before. So reminder email Monday, reminder text maybe on Thursday, and then a call like either the day before or the morning of the class. Hey, just making sure you're coming. And then when people show up, we have this is what we give them when they show up. And it's just like a little flyer from the lender. And then my brokerage has this little, it's like a map of like the home buying process. Good little cheat sheet for them. So that's kind of like what they're taking away from the class. I also have swag out. So we have like koozies. We have, we're waiting for our shipment of notepads and stuff. So I have all that out at the class so that they can take that with them. When they show up to the class, they sign in just like they would be signing into an open house. So name, address, email, and then I have a specific question of, are you working with a broker on that same sheet? And then after the class, we try to make sure that we get to at least shake hands and have a conversation with every single person that attended, and schedule either a follow-up like, hey, I'll call you this afternoon, or I'll call you tomorrow and find out, how else I can help you. And that's it,
Let me say something about what Rachel just said that I feel like a lot of people mess up. And listen to what she said. She didn't say, can I call you tomorrow? Is it okay if I call you tomorrow? She didn't ask for their permission. And I love that. And it's really, really, really critical. So one of the things that people thinking is, if I say, can I call you tomorrow? You can say no. So, I love that. Hey, I'm going to give you a call this afternoon. Here's the thing. If they don't want you to call them this afternoon, what do they say? No, I'm not available this afternoon. Call me tomorrow, right? But if you say, can I call you tomorrow? It's like you just gave them permission to say no. So tell people what to do in a nice way. And I love that you didn't even remotely say, can I? Because you know what? Come from the assumption, be a person who assumes. And why wouldn't they? You just stood and were a professional, right, and informative and great right in front of them. Act like you are a person who has value, and people will treat you like you have value. So congratulations on just knowing that intuitively, Rachel. And I'm not saying you didn't learn that or think about it, but thank you for doing it. And thank you for saying it that way. It's important.
And that's the thing to remember, is that you want to have that follow-up conversation as soon as possible, because it's still fresh in their head that, oh yeah, okay, yeah, she is the expert. Like I did just learn like this hour and a half worth of value from her.
Yes,
that's right. You want to be unapologetic and be you want to act as if, right? So when you take that assumptive close approach and you act as if, of course, you would want to work with me. Of course, you want me to call you. It's a natural foregone conclusion. When you're timid and when you're weak and when you're, would it be okay if, why would they? Of course, the answer is no, right? Like, you've got to be a lot bolder than that, but you've earned the right to be bold by being the expert, by giving them value first. And Brandon has a really good comment here, and I know Andrew Chipote was talking about, like, he was mentioning in your VIP buyer program, one of the things he does is a handyman for a day or even a handyman for a half a day. That's a great one. And you can usually get the handyman. You can work out a deal with the handyman where they will give you a half a day or even a couple hours or whatever for free, because they know that nobody has a couple hours or a half a day worth of work. They got days worth of work they need done, especially when they get into a new place. Brandon talks about, with your brochure, maybe you could talk about Nest thermostat, those types of things. Or if you're going to do a giveaway, give them something they're going to want to hold on to, right? Make it something of value to them.
Yeah, so that would be a great thing to have, a flyer of, like, explaining, like, the VIP or the first time home buyer program that you do, and say, keep hold on to this so we know, you did attend one of our classes.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's fantastic. And Brian, Cheryl is asking, do you own your own brokerage or work under a broker? Did we lose Brian?
Oh, you're asking me? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. What's really funny is at that moment, it looked like your face froze, like you didn't move. So you're like,
no, I'm at Keller Williams, and I ended up there. I tell people I ended up there by accident. I used to work at a small brokerage, and one day I woke up and we'd combined with Keller Williams, and we're at Keller Williams. So, here's what I will say, and I'm not here to pitch Keller Williams. I'm not here to pitch HomeSmart or an individual brokerage. None of those things really matter significantly. Here's what matters. Be at a brokerage that lets you do the things that you want to do that work for you. So, we have expansion teams. I'll be honest with you. I can't remember the team name of our Dallas expansion team. The brokerage doesn't matter that much. What does matter is that I know that our agents who are on that team get the type of support, and the support is that we get support from a broker who understands the law, and basically outside of that stays out of our way. We do all the marketing and we do all the, the team building. I just want to make sure there's someone there who, if we do something dumb, they'll fix it. Or if we have a question, because here's the thing, be scared of anybody who thinks that they know everything about real estate. I've been doing this for a long time, and I swear to God, I see stuff every single day, and I'm like, never thought I'd see that. Okay. So Michael always makes fun of me for being the king of real estate. So, but here's the funny thing.
I can't believe you just said that. I'm cutting that clip out of this video and promoting that somewhere. Dude, Natasha, you gotta snip that.
Here's the thing. I have sold a lot of, back in the day when we did foreclosures, I sold a lot of FHA, working for HUD and doing that. We sold a lot of things, but apparently now I'm learning today we have to detitle them, by the way. Never knew that. We never had to do it. We never did. And nowadays we have to detitle them, and you drive down. It's all kinds of crazy things. I didn't know that because it wasn't important to me. I never had to deal with it. So even in the last 6 months after doing this for 15 years, I found out I have to detitle a mobile home. Didn't even know that. So I thought Michael would appreciate that story.
Dude,
so,
you made my day. You have no idea. That made my week to hear.
I want to come back to Rachel though, because she knows 10 times more about this than I do. And so let me, quick question, then I'm going to follow that question up. If you get 30 people, how many people come?
30 RSVPs. How many people show up?
So our most successful class that we've done, we had about 28 RSVPs online. Mm-hmm. We had 3 of those people show up. We had a total of about 22 people actually come. So it was beautiful. We were like thrilled because we had this plethora of new leads, and only 3 of the people that RSVP'd actually showed up. So that meant we had a ton of people that, you missed our class. No problem. Let's schedule a one-on-one.
That's my question. So the 27 people who didn't show up, what's that look like? Because I really feel like those leads are almost, not quite, but almost as good as the people who did show up. So what are you doing with those 27 people?
So one, we follow up with them. I mean, we have them on a drip campaign. We have them on our call list. And we also, for our additional, since that class, home buyers classes that we've done, I run a retargeting ad, re-inviting them to the next.
That's awesome. Yeah, because, here's the thing. I can see myself signing up for something like that, or, something I'm interested in. And then I get home from work after a long day and I'm just like, I'm going to go play golf. It's nice out. I could completely see myself do that. So, whatever, maybe it's an investment class that I'm interested in. So, I think I would say to everyone who's listening, just because a person doesn't show up doesn't mean they're not interested. Their significant other said, oh, hey, by the way, did I tell you that we got to go to this today? Oh, their kid has a soccer game. Their kid has a piano recital. I mean, life happens. It doesn't mean they're not interested. It just means that life happened. So, that's awesome. I love the retargeting. And I don't know if you've used this or not, but I'd probably slide dial every single person. I love slide dial, by the way, for those of you who don't use it.
Or slide broadcast.
Slide broadcast.
The slide broadcast. The slide broadcast is like.
So, if you've got 100, before you know it, that list of people, if you're doing this once a month, is now, 300 people, right? Before you know it, I can slide broadcast those people in 30 seconds and say, hey, this is Rachel and I did this and I'd love to see you. Bam, bam, bam. Doesn't mean, by the way, for all the people who just went, I don't have to make phone calls. That's not what that means. It just means that you can leverage that opportunity as well. And slide broadcast, it's cheap. And, why not?
Yeah. It's really about doing all of it, land, air, and sea approach. It's very important. So you guys, I want you to think about this, because some of you right now are probably thinking, well, oh my gosh, I only had 5 or 10 people come out to my last home buyer seminar. Who freaking cares? That's great. Right? Because now you got face to face with 5 or 10 people that are actually thinking about buying a home. Would you have gone and met somebody for a one-on-one appointment? Count your blessings. Now you've got more people in your 1 or 2 or 3 hours worth of time that you get to now impact and become the expert with, and that will end up wanting to do something with you, or a good portion of them will want to do something with you now or in the future someday. So here's the thing. We're out of time. And I got to tell you, I see more questions. We're going to get to more of your questions in the Trello card. So Coach Rachel is going to dial that in for our clients as well. And for those of you that are not yet clients, come back here, watch this video over and over again, but also watch for answers to your questions here in the Facebook feed. We will also be posting this on our website at clubwealth.com at some point. And for those of you that haven't done this already, go to our blog at clubwealth.com/blog. I'll even post it in here, www.clubwealth.com/blog. I'm telling you this because there's all kinds of free information there. It's good stuff. It's like this. It's information packed, and there's not fluff, right? It's just straight to the heart. Here's what you need to do. You can download free checklists right from there, get all kinds of great stuff. It doesn't cost you a dime. That being said, don't forget our sponsor today is WiseHire. WiseHire is a company that we use for recruiting. They do a great job for us. It's very affordable, and it really does help us to recruit more people to not only our local teams, but as Brian mentioned, to our expansion teams that we have all over the country. And if you're interested in learning more about becoming a part of one of our expansion teams now or in the future, reach out. And Brian, how do we want them to reach out for that? We don't have our landing page up for that. So I guess just shoot one of us a text message or a Facebook message.
You know what we need to do, Michael, and I'll get this set up here within the next week, is we need to make a call action number. Shout out to Jesse Bodwine. And you can call into that call action number, and then I will show you how we will basically harass you until you decide to join. No, I'm just kidding. But I'll show you some of the great follow-up that happens with things like that. And, that's a great program that we can use to leverage ourselves. And absolutely.
Love it.
And for the next call, make sure I have that between me and you.
Love it.
And Cherie, if you're listening, and some other people who are out there, Rachel, whoever knows me, remind me to do it, because I'm really great at not remembering. Terry down in Dallas, and people in Chicago, and just people all over who know me know that I'm great at doing all this stuff as soon as I get some free time, which should be the day after I die.
Exactly. I love it. All right. Well, hey, Brian, thank you so much for being here and for helping me co-host this. Coach Rachel, Kennedy, I cannot thank you enough. Seriously, you have made this an amazing episode of Club Wealth TV. I've gotten nothing but great comments. And if you guys would like to hear more from Rachel, type in "we want more Rachel" into the Facebook post here. And we'll see if we can't use that to convince Rachel to come back and share more with us in the future. So don't forget to type that into the Facebook feed here. We want more Rachel. So final parting thoughts, last 20 seconds each. We'll start with Rachel, then Brian, then I'll wrap up. So, Rachel, what's your parting thought before we leave?
My parting thought is to just set a date for your next home buyer class and do it. I mean, don't overthink it. It's a really simple thing to be able to put together. And once you create your first PowerPoint, you just use the same one over and over again, and you could throw one together in a day.
Love it. Brian?
Take action. And this has been my takeaway for a long time. Almost every person that we talk to on Club Wealth TV, it's not that they're smarter than you. I'm not saying you're not smart, Rachel, you're brilliant. But that's not what made her successful, though. What made her successful was she came up with an idea and she implemented. So many people come up with these brilliant ideas and then they see someone else do it 6 months later and go, oh, I had that idea. The thing that I would take away from Rachel is she came up with an idea and she did it. Because here's the thing, what she came up with, people have been doing for the last 50 years probably, I don't know, but they've been doing it for a long time. But what Rachel did better than anybody else is she did it. So just flip and do it. And I love that you did that. You took action. And I'm sure the first one you're like, oh crap, I hope people show up. And sure enough, they did. So that's amazing. And if you want to do anything, the ideas are not new, most of them. So just do something and take action. And congratulations for doing that, Rachel. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would be along the same lines. For me, I've always believed that the most successful people in this business are the quiet implementers. They're not the people that talk about all this great stuff they're gonna do, right? I'm so tired of hearing people tell me what they're gonna do. What have you freaking done, right? Go out and do something. Take action. So I love that. 100% agree. And parting thought, the last thing I want to tell you guys before we leave is remember, if you haven't done so already, get signed up for Listing Agent Bootcamp in Denver, which is happening like a block away from Rachel.
It's literally 2 minutes from my house.
That's so awesome. and from the restaurant that your husband is the head chef at.
No, he's up in Loveland. He's like an hour away.
Oh, well, whatever. He's still an amazing cook. So that being said, get signed up for Listing Agent Bootcamp. Kristen says, yeah, just do it. It is www.clubwealth.com/LABC. Clubwealth.com/LABC. Get signed up for it. And remember, inside each one of you, there is a world-class beast just dying to get out. You got to choose to unleash that beast. So do it today. Take action. Do something in a world-class way. Even if it's just taking a world-class bite of lunch. I don't care what it is. Do something world-class today. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.